I need to introduce you, Kaelan. I'm very excited to introduce you. Don't start on your
Yeah.
own.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, good morning, good evening, everybody. We have Kaelan today. I don't want to waste much time. Either you know him or don't know him, you will come to know so many things. But I just want to ask you two questions before we start, Kaelan. How
Yeah.
did you start your marketing cloud journey, and how did you reach your golden hoodie? Did add one more? Please share some more information on your trainings.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Do you want me to start now? Okay. Sounds like you're breaking up a little bit. Can
I,
you repeat that last part? Maybe it's on
no,
me.
I just said permission granted. You know, you can take it over.
Okay. Nice. Well, so I will go ahead and answer that, and I will try to answer that with some visuals here. Just want to make sure everyone in the audience can hear me. If you could give me a thumbs up or just say yes, you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Good, good. Okay, so I'm actually going to just share my screen to just show you where I started and give you more of a visual so I can kind of just sort of show you where I was at rather than kind of just tell you. So, I actually started my career at, if anyone knows, Love's Travel Stops. It's their gas stations throughout the southeast United States of America. And basically, what I was doing was I was a Salesforce administrator. So I actually started my career, and I'll show everybody here. Basically doing the Salesforce admin beginner trail mix. And I was just like everybody else. Like I heard about Salesforce. I just was kind of like, what in the world is this? I have no idea what to do. And someone just said, I think you can basically work from home, make good money, and live the lifestyle that you want. And I was like, all right, I'm all in. And did an internship in the summer of 2017. And this was my first job was Love's Travel Stops. They hired me as a Service Cloud administrator, and I was working on customer support tickets. And basically, we had a customer support team. We also had a sales team that used Service Cloud. And basically, if someone needed their password reset or they needed a new dashboard or a new field or maybe a new object, then I would be the one to kind of just go in there and create that. And then randomly, out of nowhere, my manager came to me and said, I'd like for you to learn Marketing Cloud. And I was like, what in the world is Marketing Cloud? I have no idea what that is. And she said, I think it's going to be something that's going to help your career. And it's probably going to be a very good move for your career in the long run. Little did I know how right she would actually be. And so fast forward from there and kind of why I do what I do is because when I first started in Marketing Cloud, I was probably like everybody else where I was absolutely lost. I was like, what? I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to navigate the system. I don't know where to go for resources. Everything I'm learning is too technical for me because I'm a beginner and I don't know AMP script. I don't know, server-side JavaScript. This is tough. And I knew it was too advanced. So I, for myself, just started documenting the journey. And then along the way, started seeing that that was actually helping people. And that is pretty much what has led me here to where I'm at today. So hopefully that kind of gives you some background. And I think you did ask about the golden hoodie. I will say if you actually want a more in-depth answer on the golden hoodie, then you can actually go to read the entire story because I was like, I've got to document this while it's still fresh. And I actually documented the entire journey. And I'm probably going to make a YouTube video out of it at some point and give some more in-depth knowledge on that. But this is pretty much my journey. And I'll just share this with everybody in the chat in case you actually do want to learn that. But long story short, I taught my mom and sister Marketing Cloud and basically took the bills over and paid for rent and everything for a year while, I just kind of took them under my wing and said, let's learn this together. And we all lived under the same roof and I taught them Marketing Cloud in a year. And it's funny because I say a year, but honestly, it was really like a month when they actually got serious. Um, but they were enjoying the good life for a while. Whenever we were when they knew the bills were paid for a year, they were chilling. They were relaxing for a while, and then they got serious when the time was almost up. So, but yeah, literally like a month later, when they took it serious, they got a job and changed their life completely. So hopefully that answers that. And that's the short version, but this is the long version of the entire story if you want to actually read through that. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yes.
Good, good. Any other questions? I'm here. I'm all here for the taking.
No, I just want to add one point. Like I myself struggle to, teach my mother or mother-in-law how to take the selfie, how to, flip the camera to backward. But how did you make it possible to, let them learn marketing cloud role? Entire marketing cloud, new
Oh my.
technology.
Yeah, that was a lot of. I wish I could really to give you a lot of like the pictures of the days we were actually in there working with each other, but honestly, it was a lot of them sitting on the couch and me hooking up the computer to the HDMI cord onto the TV and just saying follow along with me as I go through these examples. And they had their laptops open, they were taking notes, and they were watching and asking me questions, and I basically just took them through a real world marketing cloud project. And this is kind of the project. I use this, and they were who I tested this on. But basically, what I created while I was teaching them was I realized this framework for how every project actually works. And I basically just taught them this framework here. So, as we were working together, I started thinking about all of the steps that you actually have to take to do a marketing cloud project. And it finally hit me. And I basically just said, okay, every marketing cloud project follows 5 steps. And give me one. Okay, my little brother is here and he's got music playing extra loud, and I'm like, can you turn that down? Okay, so we we basically just did this. I realized this 5-step framework here, and I realized that every marketing cloud project follows these 5 steps, which is you've got to set up a marketing cloud environment. You have to administer right through FTPs, setting up users, business units, things like that. You've got to manage your data, whether that's importing data, put your database together, segment your data, create your content like your emails, automate everything with Automation Studio and Journey Builder, and then report on with standard reports and data views and such. And so as I realized that 5-step framework, everything that I taught my mom and sister followed these 5 steps. So that's the strategy, but each one of these boxes actually represents one of those steps. So in step 1, you'll see everything under setup and administration here, which is, setup deep dive, for example, roles, setting up roles and users, business units, IP warming, sender authentication package. And if you go through that, I basically just realized if I understood everything that was required to do a marketing cloud implementation, I could create a story out of every single thing, and every single step of the story could be an assignment or a specific task for someone to do. And as we continue each chapter of the story, basically you're accomplishing an entire marketing cloud project. And so they were my test dummies on that, basically, so to speak. And from there, I just taught them this 5-step framework, and pretty much that was what they learned. And after they learned it, they actually had the skill set to go out and actually do a marketing cloud project. So that was my sort of like thinking behind the thinking, so to speak, and how I taught them. And also, one thing I want to add to that is just it's probably a little bit, I guess, far-fetched, so to speak, as far as it's a very high level overview. But that's the framework. Think about a car, right? If you think about a car and you think about the framework of a car, um, you have what it sits on, but you don't ever see it, right? You don't ever see the suspension and everything. Like, you don't ever see this part of the car, right? This isn't what everybody sees, but this is what makes the car actually the structure of the vehicle. Now, everything that you see, the beautiful stereo, the beautiful dashboard, and all of that, that's what you see when it comes to actually doing the work or doing the project. And so what it is that this car example is basically what I just showed you, which is the 5-step framework. Now, any course that I teach, Deborah can attest to this, email specialist course or marketing cloud administrator course, it's just the marketing cloud email specialist or administrator skill set built on top of the framework. So if you want to be an email specialist, you just need to learn what an email specialist needs to know within that 5-step framework. If you want to be an administrator, you've got to know what an administrator would do within that 5-step framework. Developer, same thing, and a consultant, same thing, right? Because it's not like, I think this is one thing a lot of people think is that if you're a marketing cloud developer, I think a lot of people think you're going to be doing something so different than an email specialist. Yes, you're going to be doing AMP script, or you're going to be doing server-side JavaScript, or you're going to be doing some more coding, but you still have to know the core framework of a marketing cloud project, right? You still have to understand the 5 steps to every marketing cloud project. You still have to know setup and administration, because you're probably going to be setting up, Marketing Cloud Connect, or helping to, deal with the SOAP APIs, or, the integrations between multiple systems, or you're going to be setting up automations, right, with server-side JavaScript and activities and things like that. So it's not about learning something different. It's about knowing the 5-step framework and adding your body style on top of that, if we're talking like in terms of cars, right? So that's kind of the framework I use to teach everything in Marketing Cloud, and that's what I taught my mom and sister. So hopefully that makes sense. I know this is recorded, so you can go back and watch that again. That's probably a lot all at once, but
yeah, but it's good. Yeah.
So any questions? I just want to stop and see if anyone has anything to add on to that. I see some stuff in the chat, but I just want to see if anyone has any questions. I see one comment. This is very good and will give you a good understanding of the platform. Yes, exactly. That's what it's all about. Because as long as you understand the 5 steps, like let's say I was to give you a project. So let's say, Lakshmi, I was like, hey, we just hired you as our marketing cloud administrator. And we want you, maybe we've already built Marketing Cloud out, but we want you to come in and we want you to work on an automation and build, we want you to automate some of our data processes. Well, now with the 5-step framework, you don't have to think about, well, what do I do first? What do I do second? What do I do? All you have to think to yourself is, okay, Automation Studio. Which step in the 5-step framework is that? That's step 4 right here, which is automation. So you're going to go to the automation step. And you're going to go down to building an automation, which is a sub-step underneath that. And you're going to think to yourself, under building an automation, you have 3 different starting sources. You have triggered automations, you have file drop automations, and you have scheduled automations. So now you're going to think to yourself, okay, what type of automation is this? Now, there's only really 3 starting sources. So then you can think to yourself, which one based on the customer's requirements, which one do I need to choose? If I know every day that they're going to drop a file at 5 p.m., I know I can put a scheduled automation. But if I don't know and I just am waiting for the file to drop and that's going to start the automation, I have to ask myself, is it coming from our FTP? If it is, then we're going to choose a file drop automation. If it's coming from, let's say, Amazon buckets, Amazon S3 buckets, then I'm going to choose a triggered automation. And then once I do that, I can think to myself, now, which activities do I need to use? And then based on the requirements, once again, if the customer says, I want to drop an encrypted file onto the FTP every night at 5 p.m., I know it's going to be a scheduled automation. and I'm going to need to use a file transfer activity to decrypt that data, and then import activity to import that data, and then so on and so forth, right? SQL query to segment the data, right? So now with the 5-step framework, you can just think to yourself, what are the steps to every single Marketing Cloud project, the tiny steps that make up the medium steps that make up the big steps? If you think about, I always think about it like this. I think of every project like this. Does anyone remember any of these things? Remember these? So I think of every project like these. I think of, you've got the strategy, right? The big one here is the 5 steps, right? You've got 5 of these big ones that make up the whole project, but each one of these medium ones is a sub-step underneath that step that you've got a concept you've got to know about. And as you go deeper and deeper into, if you look here, as you go deeper, that's a specific task that you have to do within Marketing Cloud. And every single little one builds and it makes this huge project up, right? So if we can just remember that every Marketing Cloud project just follows a step-by-step framework every single time, and you're just plugging and playing and the only thing that's different is the customer's requirements and the variables, the data that's going into it. But other than that, that's pretty much it. The question we've got here is, how long did you take to come up with the 5-step framework? Great question, Sita. I actually just wrote about that in my most recent blog. I wrote about that, but I was doing Marketing Cloud projects from 2017 all the way up until 2020. And every time I did it, I was confused. I was like, what am I doing first? What am I doing second? I was struggling with it. So I needed something and I didn't know what that thing was. And then finally one day I'm sitting there with a client and I'm like, you guys are following the same steps I've always seen. And it finally hit me. And I thought to myself, why have I not seen this sooner? This is so simple. They followed the same step of set up the system and then set up the business units, the users, the roles, everything like that. Manage your data, right? Import it, understand the data architecture, understand the segmentation, create the content, automate everything, and then report. I was like, it's just 5 steps. And then you're intertwining your personality within all of the 5 steps. You're intertwining your soft skills, right? You're intertwining the ability to ask the right questions. You're intertwining the ability to schedule meetings and make sure you've got all of the right requirements and things like that. You're using your skill set of being able to solve problems within that 5-step framework. And this is why I say Marketing Cloud, honestly, aside from you not being able to access the system, it's just like any other technology like Facebook, right? Like if I said, hey, go learn how to add a friend on Facebook, once you just see that once or twice, you're going to figure out how to actually add a friend or remove a connection or create a group. You just have to know the step-by-step process. Marketing Cloud really isn't that hard once you understand it. It's literally just a framework that you follow every single time, and you're plugging different data in and out. The hard part is the people skills part of it and figuring out solving the problem solving, critical thinking side of things. But to answer your question, Sita, how long did it take to come up with the framework? It hit me. And when it hit me like a ton of bricks, and the light bulb went off, and I literally saw it. And I went back to my, I stopped the meeting right there, and I told them to wait a second. And then I just wrote everything down that was hitting me. And then I just took that entire evening and just wrote this framework out. And, but that was also years in the making, right? That was me doing a bunch of different projects, but that's why I document things. That's why I have a blog. That's why I create courses. That's why I have a YouTube channel. Because if it took me years, I hope I can save somebody years of time and effort to solve the same thing and just say, hey, here it is right here. Right. So, so to answer that question, years in the making, but once it hit me, it was just, I had to write it down immediately. So hopefully that helps. Any other questions?
I
Um,
Kaelan, it's Matt here. I just want to reflect on your light bulb moment. I know when I first started in IT, um, I had absolutely no idea what the business did. I was 18. It did stuff, and they employed me to design forms. That's electronic forms, and that's what I did. But it was 6 months into that job before I was working around the production area, and wow, I'm actually doing stuff to make that work. But that's wonderful. I remember that to this day, that light bulb moment. But thanks for sharing that. It's so wonderful. I think what you're doing there is demystifying Marketing Cloud. It is a low code platform. It is easy, and you don't have to know all the parts to make sense of it all. And like you say, there's different aspects of it. Certainly when you're getting started, you'll never be doing all of these parts. You may only be doing the email bit or the campaign parts. So you don't need to know everything. You just need to know what you need to know. And I think the thing I was taking away from your conversation there is just be curious and be a nice person. If you do those things, it's going to work for you, because that's really, really all you need to be. Just looking around, trying to work it out. And the other thing that you're doing is you're sharing your journey, and that's content, and it's helping others. And we can all do that, but it's awesome to see what you've done with that to make it work so other people can see that. I've chatted for a bit there, but so awesome to see this framework. It's just, I know it's your light bulb moment. It's just awesome, and it's just, it's a light bulb for everyone.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think honestly, that's the biggest thing. If I can give anyone watching this, whether it's live here or recorded, if you can take anything away from this session, it's exactly what Matt said. It's just being curious and being able to honestly, and Deborah, you said it just best right here in the chat. It's plug and play, Salesforce and Marketing Cloud. And honestly, AWS or Microsoft or whatever it may be, I haven't figured those frameworks out for those other systems because I haven't worked with them. But even like, for example, I've worked with AWS just a little bit, S3 buckets, just a little bit. And I realized it's literally the same steps every single time to set up an Amazon AWS S3 bucket and link it, integrate it over into Marketing Cloud for integrating your data over. And so what you said, Matt, is so important. It's literally being curious. If there's any transferable skills I can recommend to somebody, it's be curious, bring what you've already got from your previous life experience, not just your one job. Because we're all, I'm sure, old enough that we haven't had just one job in our entire life. And if we have, I congratulate you for being there the entire time. But I'm sure we had even small jobs, right, when we were kids or teenagers, where we took those skills that we learned to work with other people and solve problems and brainstorm. And even when you were in school and you had to work with a team of people and maybe one person didn't do the job, you had to pick up the slack for that person or whatever it may be. What lessons did you learn about how you work with others, how you work with people? Because ultimately what I've seen, I've interviewed for, honestly, and I don't mean to say this in a way that's like I haven't gotten a lot of jobs. I mean to say this as like I've just tested the waters because I kind of wanted to learn how the interview process works. Almost every interview that I've applied for, I've pretty much gotten the job offer. And the one thing I can say about that, and the reason for that, is you've got to be able to get people to like you. You've got to get people to be able to say, I think I could work with that person. Like, I like that person's personality. They have energy. They are a go-getter. They're a hard worker. And if you've got those are the intangibles. I can teach you Marketing Cloud. An employer can train you up and upskill you in the Marketing Cloud system. They can send you to training classes. They can reimburse you for a class that, I give you or something like that, right? Like, they can reimburse you and they can put you on all the trainings and things like that. The one thing they can't do is make you a person that people like, right? Like I can't make you a nice person, right? I can't make you somebody who's a team player. I can't make you somebody who solves problems, who thinks critically, who, is actually putting in the work to make sure that the company is growing, make sure that our projects are moving forward. I'm not going to say where I worked or who I was working for, but there was a guy I was working with one time, and he absolutely didn't want to do any projects. And there were so many managers who just gave him time, chance after chance after chance. And eventually they were just like, hey, we can't keep working with you because you just don't care about the initiatives that we have. You don't care about what we're doing. But then you see somebody and he had all the skill in the world. He had the degree, he had the master's, he was, qualified, he had all the certifications. He just didn't care about working. Like at the end of the day, he didn't care about the role, and they had to let him go. But then I've worked with so many people who are just hungry. They are just like, I'm going to learn this system no matter what it takes. I'm going to be a team player. I'm going to show up ready every day. It's those intangibles. And then they are the ones who end up having the longest careers. They're the ones who end up getting the promotions and getting taken to leadership roles and things like that, because you just can't teach that stuff. It's kind of sad to say, but once you're done with what I teach you in Marketing Cloud, you're done with me, because you've learned the process, you've learned the framework, right? Like you've learned how a Marketing Cloud project works. But I think that's the most beautiful piece of it, is that's the thing people are the most afraid of, is Marketing Cloud, the tech side, but that's actually the easiest part. Yes, it takes time. You've got to put in the work to actually learn it. But once you learn that, it's a wrap from there. And you're just kind of honing your skills and sharpening up your tool set from there. So
I'm going to add a little bit to that from a hiring perspective. Quite often as a hirer, you look at your team, and it's exactly right. You look at your team, you look at the people that make a difference to the business, and you say, I want another one of them.
Yep.
And that's what the hirer's got in their mind. They look into their company and they say, these are the sorts of people we want more of. We're going to get more of those people. So, yeah, you're right. Experience, skills, yeah, they're important, but having the right aptitude, that's ultimately what you're looking for.
Exactly. And Sita, you asked, how many projects did you implement before arriving at the framework? So I did a lot of little projects. Like I did a lot of projects in Automation Studio, right? So like Matt was alluding to a little earlier, when I was at my first company, Loves, we already had Marketing Cloud set up. So for almost 2 years, I didn't do what you would think of as a consultant type of project. I didn't implement the system from setup and administration all the way to reporting, right? I didn't do all 5 steps. I was over maybe designing an email, right? I was like, okay, we've got this newsletter. You need to test the newsletter out, make sure that all the personalization and AMP script and everything renders correctly. So I had to learn that side of Marketing Cloud. And then maybe a month goes by and I go and do it again. But what did I do in between that month? I would do Automation Studio testing, right? Make sure that our SQL queries were working the right way. Or if we were setting up a new campaign, they were all set up the right way in Journey Builder. Or we had a lot of mobile push messages. We had a mobile app. So I would do a lot of mobile app testing and making sure that all the messages were created the right way by our developer team and sent to our iPads. Like I had an iPad, I had a BlackBerry, I had 2 Android phones, and then I had 2 iPhones. And I would test to make sure that all the mobile app messages were showing up correctly on those. And then I would go back and I would tell the developers. And so a lot of the stuff I was doing, it wasn't like I was doing a full project. I was just doing smaller projects within that 5-step framework. So if we're thinking about, content creation and delivery, that was in step 3, right? That was in the content creation and delivery side, which is creating your content and testing your content over here. So that was, and within those two sub steps, and then you've got, underneath that, you've got your mobile push, your mobile connect for your SMS text messages and things like that. But to answer that question, there wasn't a ton of project work that I did in the beginning of my career. Then I became a consultant, and then I actually did a huge implementation from beginning to end with a humongous company. You would know them if I told you, but I don't think I can say right now, but huge company. And they were transferring from Marketo over to Marketing Cloud. And they were wanting to take all their marketing assets off of Marketo and take all of their processes out of that software and put it into Marketing Cloud. So that project was one of my first real long implementations. Then I worked with other companies that wanted to just implement Marketing Cloud Connect, for example. And then so there was a lot of different examples where I worked with smaller projects, big projects. So I can't really say how many projects did you implement, unless you want to say like how many long projects. And I would say that's about 5 to 10, depending on if you're asking, did I do every single step of every single project? No, I didn't do every single step of every project because we had a team working with each other to build that. But I was a part of dozens of Marketing Cloud projects from the time that I was a consultant to this point. So you see all these little patterns over time, and then you finally realize that they're all following the same 5 steps. They're all following the same framework. And I could even say the same thing for Sales Cloud or Service Cloud. Like if you go into Sales Cloud and you're a Sales Cloud admin, Salesforce administrator, pretty much the same thing. You're setting up the system, right? Users, permissions, permission sets, profiles, org-wide defaults, things like that, right? That's all your org setup. Then you're going into data management. You've got to create your objects, your fields. You've got to create those relationships, everything that's related to the data management side of things. You've got to import the data into those objects, right? And then you've got to set what schedule they're going to be imported into. You got to segment that data. So pretty much every project kind of followed the same thing. I'm kind of rambling on that piece, but pretty much it's kind of like that. If you've seen a lot of that, then you understand. Lakshmi, were you going to say something?
Yeah, before that, Matt has a question.
Oh, yeah. What would you say is the most important transferable skill for showing your potential employer that you are interested and want to do Marketing Cloud and email marketing? I'll just come off of experience for me. So I was interviewing for a bank back in 2020. So this was right in the heart of the pandemic. And it's funny, they were actually wanting me to come into the office during that time. So actually funny that, like, ironic. They were interviewing with me. And at that point in my career, obviously I hadn't done kind of the things that I was doing right now in terms of teaching other people. And so I was still a little wet behind the ears because this was like a little bit in terms of years of experience. They were kind of like, okay, where are you at? Are you ready for this sort of role? And I remember one question they asked me was, they said, why should we pick you? Why should we hire you? And I just took my background. Now, everybody's background is different. I was a collegiate athlete, and don't compare yourself to what I'm about to say, by the way, because you have a story. Everybody has adversities that they've overcome. But I was a collegiate athlete. I wasn't the guy that was picked, to be like the all-state athlete. I wasn't the guy that was, the most athletically gifted. I wasn't anything like there were guys that were so much more athletic than me. And I worked my butt off to get to the point of I was last place my junior year of high school to I won a state championship in the long jump my senior year of high school. And I told myself I was going to do that. And I set it in my mind. And I told them that story, and that sold them. That story sold them. So that adversity that you've overcome in your life, when you tell somebody that you have what it takes because you're not going to quit, my biggest piece of advice is to say, if you're showing a potential employer you're interested and you want to do it, is to say, I know what I want. And when I want something, I'm going to be good at it. I'm going to be great at it. I'm going to put all my effort and energy into it, and nothing's going to stop me. Now, if you guys want to take a chance on me and you want to be the ones for me to prove that to you, that's why I'm here. I want to show that to you. If you show up with that type of confidence, they can't say anything. Like, this is just Kaelan being as authentic as possible, because this is me. I've done that. I've literally been in an with 4 other guys who were at least 30 years older than me, looking at me and saying, why? Why should we pick you? And after that, their jaws were just dropped. They were like, yeah, we think you might be able to actually do this. So as long as you show that confidence and you're not going in half-heartedly, then they're going to actually have that confidence that you can do it, because they know it's all just tech. They know it's all something you can learn. And as long as you're willing to come in and learn their business and you're willing to be a team player, they're willing to take that chance. And then Sita said, curiosity and problem solving and getting things done, at least through your connects, is very important. The right attitude, exactly, stands above it all. That's the biggest piece of advice. Go in with the right attitude and go in with confidence. Go in and say, I know what I've done in the past. I've overcome these things. I've solved these things. I'm learning Marketing Cloud. I know so many people who don't even have access to Marketing Cloud, and they've gotten Marketing Cloud jobs just by taking my courses. Just matter of fact, I know some people who haven't even taken my courses. They've just taken they've read a couple of blog posts and watched a couple of YouTube videos and watched a couple of things, and they went in for a job and got 6-figure jobs. Like, these are people who are just like, I believe in myself. I know I've got what it takes, and I'm going to go in and learn it. And I'm going to let the employer know I can actually go in and do it. So when people say I need access to Marketing Cloud to actually do Marketing Cloud, it's beneficial. Don't get me wrong. It is beneficial, and it will help you, and you will get your hands on, you will get experience in it. But I promise you, based on what I have seen, people have done it and people are doing it, and they're actually succeeding in Marketing Cloud. Now, when you get in there, better be willing to work and, take that laptop home, or if you're working remote, keep that laptop on you and do your task and ask questions, join Facebook groups, join LinkedIn groups, watch YouTube videos, research. But once you get that chance, don't blow it, and just go in there and prove them right. I mean, you got the job. So that's my biggest thing. So I didn't know if we wanted to add anything to that, but I'm reading the chat. I love it. Yeah. Tenacity. When you show your passion to learn, you're honest about your excitement, and people can see that, people feed off of that. I mean, and this is, and a lot of my stuff that I say, honestly, is like, this is the difference between me and probably a lot of other people who teach tech in general, is I am all about human behavior. I'm all about mindset. I'm all about passion and tenacity and getting the life you deserve. Like life is so much bigger than just Marketing Cloud. I know you guys are doing Marketing Cloud in order to make good money, have a closer relationship with your family, have those connections, be able to travel with your family and get in the RV and pack up and be able to travel up and down the coast of, the ocean, right? Or just be able to go to the beach or whatever it may be. And so what I try to show people is, like, in order to live that life, you've got to, what Matt said, you've got to have that tenacity. What Deborah said, you've got to have that passion, you've got to have something that's pushing you beyond just the Marketing Cloud. The people who don't make it in the tech world and they don't last a long time, they're the people who are just kind of like, I think I'll try Marketing Cloud. I think I'll try Salesforce. It's all right. This game is really actually it's taxing at times. You've got to actually be good at figuring problems out. You've got to be good at working in a team, right? So you've got to have some tenacity and want something more for your life. And so one thing I always try to show in Marketing Cloud is it's not just about the tech skills. It's about the human element behind everything. And I think if you can pull that out, you might not get every job you apply for, but you're going to get an interview, and you're going to get an offer at some point. And on that note, I will also say one book, if there's one book I could recommend to anybody in order to build better human relations, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That is an amazing book. It has changed my relationship with my girlfriend. It's changed my relationship with my siblings. It's changed my relationship with my mom and dad. It's changed my relationship with my friends. You just, when you understand how people operate and you understand what makes people actually say yes and what makes people happy and what makes you happy as a human being, there's just principles to life. And if you can figure out those principles, you can start to utilize those principles in a job interview. You can utilize those in conversations every day. I would highly, highly recommend anybody who's struggling to get past those interviews to read that book and really understand what it takes to actually build a connection with other people. And the last part of that is, when you're in an interview, the biggest transferable skill, and this is the secret, hopefully no employers see this, which I'm sure they will, but the biggest thing, and it's a human thing, the thing is you want to get the other person talking. When you get the other person talking, you will get them telling you what they want, right? If you know what the other person wants, you can give it to them. But if you don't let them actually tell you, you'll never know. So one thing I always do in an interview is I always say to people, tell me what you're looking for. I become the interviewer. Like, you've got to take the reins and say, you become the interviewer, and you go into that interview and you say, tell me what you guys are looking for. And at that point, it really becomes a matter of, is this the right fit? Think about if the first time you were on a date with your significant other, right? Let's say you're married, or let's say you're in a relationship, or let's say you're looking for somebody to be in a relationship with. What is the first thing you did? Tell me a little bit more about yourself. You actually got into their world. You understood what they were looking for. If you can figure out what they're looking for, you can decide, are you the right fit? Plus, that actually opens the door up for them to be kind of vulnerable and allow themselves to kind of open up and say, this is what I'm looking for. How many people do you think in an interview are asking that question? A lot of people going into interviews are kind of like, they just talk so much that they basically don't let the interviewer say anything, and they pretty much leave the interview with both parties feeling drained a little bit, And so think about that the next time you go into an interview. Did you get the person who was interviewing you to actually talk more than you spoke? And if that's the case, you probably were able to build a decent connection, and you probably gave yourself a good chance to get that job. So little hacks. You gotta understand more than just Marketing Cloud in order to make friends. Like, that's all an interview is getting someone to actually really trust and believe you're the right person for that position. I think we put too much emphasis on just the tech skills. Yes, those are important, but that's not the only thing that matters. You're coming onto a team. You're about to enter into a new culture, a new world. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Hopefully we can transcribe that with some Chat GPT or something and turn that into a blog post.
Thanks for sharing that. I think guided listening. So you want to be, it's when you're a consultant, it's just so important. You can't afford to talk about yourself. You can't afford to talk about what you've done. You've just got to guide that conversation. And you've really got to be so present in the conversation as well. And it's hard. It's actually really, that can be draining too, because you want to have that engagement, but you need to learn from the engagement so you can play that back and creating another opportunity for another conversation too. So it's important. But I think I'm starting to feel like this isn't just for a Marketing Cloud. This is transferable skills for life.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
I totally agree with that too. Working in Marketing Cloud, you're, being trusted with their data, and that's basically their company, that's their baby, and they want to know that you care, and they won't know what you care about unless they know you care and you have that interaction with them. And, if you're excited, you're asking them questions, you're getting them to talk, you're, you know, giving them focus in the meeting, listening, using your listening skills, then they're going to understand more that you can be trusted. And, everything Kaelan talks about, all his energy, I think, contagious, you know, that encouragement is just, bubbling over into, being contagious for everyone, being able to say, I have the confidence, I can do this too. And, showing how trustworthy they can be and taking care of people. And so everything you've talked about, I think, is so important.
Yep. And something that just came up as you were saying that, Deborah, I thought of this. I thought of something, and I wanted to just ask somebody. And this goes back to you getting hired, right? Transferable skills. You're trying to transfer your skills from a different industry, and you want to become a Marketing Cloud email specialist, admin, developer, consultant, business analyst, whatever it may be, right? You're trying to get a job. All right. Something you were saying, Deborah, just made me think about it. And I want to think about the last time I went to get my car fixed, right? Think about this. And this hopefully this resonates with some people. I want to think about, let's just say, I'm trying to find a good picture here, but maybe a picture might not suffice in this specific example. But let's say you go to a mechanic shop, and you go to a shop that looks like, and this is just an example. This isn't necessarily like it's always going to be like here, but let's say you go to a mechanic shop that looks like this, right? Let's say you go to a mechanic shop, and this is your car. Your car is your baby. Deborah, you mentioned Marketing Cloud is their baby, right? So let's say your car is your baby. You're having some issues with your car. You're trying to hire somebody to do the job, which is all they're doing with us, right? When we're going to look for a job and we're interviewing. So technically, when you go to the mechanic is interviewing for the job, if you think about it. So let's just say you go to an interview. Let's just talk about this for a second. You go to an interview, and this might not be the best one, but I typed in dirty mechanic shop, something that kind of just looks a little like run down. I wouldn't say that's necessarily run down, but think about a mechanic shop that doesn't look like, that appealing. Maybe the guy is not that nice. Maybe they're rude to you when you walk into the place and you feel like they're not going to listen to anything I say. But then you go to a mechanic shop and it's like this. Everything's kind of clean. They're real nice. They have a smile on their face. Everything is, smells good in there. They're going to actually listen to you. They're going to take care of your baby, your car, right? You put a lot of money into that vehicle. You care about that. You don't want them just throwing pieces all over the place. They're not going to do a good job. You don't want a place that doesn't have a warranty, right? Think about the things that you take that affect your decision on if somebody's going to do the job for you. If you're going to hand your money over to them, right? They have to show up with a smile on their face. They have to be nice to you. They have to listen to you, right? They have to have an environment that's conducive for you to actually do business with them, right? Like, this is one thing I see even when people are doing these interviews is they'll show up and they will they look like they just rolled out of bed. And I'm like, if there's one conversation you want to have in the interview, that's the one you want to show up as polished as possible, right? Because what's the old saying? If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good. So it all starts with looking good, right? And so it's all a part of the entire just presentation you're putting on. So think about the next time you go in and you're about to do business with a company. Are you going to do business with the person that's rude, or are you going to be doing business with the person that greets you with a smile on their face? Are you going to be doing business with the person who doesn't let you talk? Or are you going to do business with the person that listens and lets you just speak your mind and lets you explain all your problems to them, right? These are things, like Matt said, these are life skills that is, if you learn these skills, the likelihood of you landing your next marketing cloud job and you succeeding in that, it's immense. So,
Hey, Kaelan, are you standing up at the moment?
I am standing.
So am I. I find standing for meetings when they're online just makes, and also it's hard to be, because if you're looking at the camera, it's hard to always be looking at the camera, because then you're looking actually at people's eyes and they see your eyes, but you can't see them on the screen. It's a bit offsetting because we do so much online these days. But I just find, and I'm looking at the camera right now, I just find that looking at the camera and standing in a meeting just makes me so much more present. I feel more present. I think I look more present too. That's just something.
Yeah.
I was just curious about whether you were standing. I thought you were. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it helps so much. It brings you more life, because when you get antsy, you can kind of move around. As you can see, I move around a lot. So, yeah, I think it's a superpower. If you can get you a standing desk, it helps so much. It's changed my work productivity. Dancing, yep. Get you a little balance board or something. Yeah, helps so much. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've got in terms of transferable skills. It's probably not what everyone was expecting if you're going back through this, but I try to do things in an unconventional way. I try to do things in a way that is Deborah's a part of the Marketing Cloud Mastery community. And one thing I try to really do is I try to create an environment of optimism. I try to create an environment of growth mindset. I try to, one thing about me is I'm always going to, no matter what the environment is, if we're going through a pandemic, if we're going through a recession, everybody else knows we're going through it. Why would I be the one to kind of keep that thing going? I want to talk about how we can grow from that. What are the learning lessons we can get from that? What are the things we can do to overcome the adversity, right? I want to have that growth mindset. And honestly, that's why I think nothing that I do, and when it comes to these types of meetings, is really related to just the tech side, because it's really a mindset. And if you can take that mindset to anything. You can be an artist, you can be in Marketing Cloud, you can be an athlete, you can be whatever, right? And so, yeah. And so, Deborah, you asked, can you explain all the ways where people can find your tips? Yes, I can. So one of the places, the main place I would say to go that has everything is the Minute Admin website. So if you go to the minuteadmin.com website, you'll see the very first thing. This first thing is for people who are new to the Marketing Cloud ecosystem. So I just created a step-by-step daily checklist on here's the things you need to know. And this all stemmed from all the questions I was getting whenever people would start out in Marketing Cloud. I'm sure, Matt, you get this. Deborah, Lakshmi, you get the same thing. When people start off in Marketing Cloud, they all generally seem to have the same questions. So if you have a question in Marketing Cloud and you're a beginner, you probably are going to get it answered in this roadmap here, this 3-day game plan. But also, if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the other things that I've got here. I try to make it as simple step-by-step as possible, but you can go here to get more resources, and that'll lead you over here to the 3-day challenge again. If you want to get started on a trail mix, we've got the email specialist, developer, and admin, Marketing Cloud admin trail mix. I'm actually coming out with some study guides here pretty soon with a lot more in-depth stuff in those. And then we've got a blog as well where Matt, you mentioned this, where I'm documenting the journey and making sure that everything that I'm learning along the way, you're also getting those learning lessons as well. So the biggest thing I would say, if you want these blog posts before they actually go live on the website, is just go to the Minute Admin website, put your email address in anywhere. It doesn't matter. You'll be put onto the newsletter list. And then every Friday or Saturday, it's usually every Friday, I'll send that my weekly learning lessons. And basically, and then on top of that, if you want to follow me on any social media, that's all linked here on the website as well. And then the last thing is, if you are interested in taking a course, I do have courses. Now, a lot of my products, and this is just me kind of just explaining the behind the scenes right now. I am the only person working on my products because I have accomplished these things. I'm trying to give back exactly what I've accomplished. So I don't really bring on anybody else to add to the course or anything like that. This is all from my experience. I've passed the email specialist, admin, developer, and consultant certs on top of Pardot and Sales Cloud admin and some other stuff. But everything that I've used to pass is in these courses. So if you don't see something in there, like right now, the Marketing Cloud developer course, it doesn't have all the videos that email specialist or admin has. But that's because what I did to practice and pass the cert was different than what I did for email specialist and admin. Now, I will go back and add videos to this course for developer just to kind of cover the concepts that you need to know. But just know that I have everything I personally use to pass it. So all of the practice questions that I took from studying all the material on the developer.salesforce.com website, I went in and I actually used ChatGPT to help me create 180 practice questions based on all the things that I learned. So with explanations and things like that. So, and on top of that, I also have an entire bundle where it's all the interview questions I've ever seen. So you can see kind of here, we've got interview questions, every question I've ever seen or asked. We have a Marketing Cloud Resort project, survival guide, which is like your first 90 days on the job. Like, how do you survive your first job? A Tesla project that's still being built out a little bit more. I try to use the 5-step framework for everything and kind of switch it up for all of these different projects to create the stuff that you really want to learn. So that's pretty much like the whole gist of everything that I offer, all the way from what you can get as far as a free 3-day challenge, all the way to the courses that I offer as well, and then the blog and the resources and such. So hopefully that helps anybody. Depending on where you're at in your journey, you can join at any spot. It doesn't matter. I'm just here to really help you out on your journey, depending on wherever you come in at. So hopefully that helps.
Yes.
Well, good. That's all I've got, everyone. I appreciate you so much for having me on, Matt and Lakshmi and Deborah as well. So Deborah, I appreciate you introducing me to the entire group here. This has been such an amazing experience. You're on mute,
Meeting.
Deborah.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely loved, being able to be meeting Matt Cameron. I had just reached out to him and he introduced me to his developer group and introduced me to Lakshmi. And so it was fun just naturally to introduce them to who I first learned Marketing Cloud from. I'm excited you're able to showcase how much you have helped me and helped so many people. And, I think it's great everything you've gone over, and especially people can see your excitement, because your excitement, I think, is one of the most important things that you help people realize, be yourself, and, you can take all your experience and start a whole new career. And I think Marketing Cloud is a great career. And, if people, do a different career, they still have seen, how to be passionate and, keep moving forward. So I appreciate all your passion. Thank you.
Yeah, same back to you. And I appreciate Matt and Lakshmi. Honestly, you guys have me beat on the marketing these events. I'm telling you, like, I don't do nearly as much pre-marketing as I would like to, but I appreciate you keeping up with everything leading up to this. And Hopefully we can have my mom on here at some point.
I wish. Yeah,
Kaelan,
actually, I just
Kaelan, if I could just, can you just stop sharing? I just want to share a slide.
Yeah.
I'll share my screen. And yeah, no, that what I'm sharing on the screen there, that's our thing. I'll just make it nice and big on this. Oh, no, I won't bother. But the Salesforce Marketing Cloud Dev Group, it's just all about what we're doing here. Together learning, sharing, and mentoring Salesforce Marketing Cloud. That's our purpose. So, you know, what we're doing here and what we do every week is about this, have these sorts of conversations. And, that link there is our blog. So that's another place to go. We'll certainly be adding what you've talked about. We've just started this blog off, but we'll certainly be adding what you've talked about there. Thank you so much. Thank you. And, you know, we didn't know each other, and we've been doing this for so long, all of us. And you learn by just being present in the community. Like, it wasn't until Deborah presented about 2 months ago, her journey. And Kaelan was on the call. And who's Kaelan? For me, I didn't know. These guys are telling me who Kaelan is. And then, you know, it was uncanny because 2 weeks after that, you said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And then 2 weeks after that is watching the keynote connections. And there you are. And, you know, we're all doing good stuff. We just got to keep sharing and being present in the community, on LinkedIn, wherever we can, just mentioning, helping, sharing our content, sharing our journeys, because it's the way we learn.
Yep, exactly. And that's the last thing. I think you hit it right there. Being present in the community, that's the biggest thing. So I think that's one thing in 2023 I made a vow to do. Is 2023 was the motto for me was stronger together. So yeah, not being in a silo anymore, being in groups and getting to know people, building those connections. Like, that's going to take us so far in this industry and just in life, honestly. Like you said, Matt, this is a transferable life skills session. So
my one when I kicking off a project is everyone in the room is the experts on this job, and we're going to get it done, like, because we are. And yeah, we're all the experts. We just got different things we bring. So
Yep.
Totally get that, what you're saying about together making a difference.
Exactly. Yep.
can I add something, Matt?
Of course.
No, whenever I start, you are starting parallelly. So yeah, that's fine. No, actually, I wanted to say 2 things. One thing is Marketing Cloud is not a mystery. That's what I can understand from this session. And definitely so many trailblazers can try learning Marketing Cloud. And, and I just have one question. What is the future of Marketing Cloud role? Like Marketing Cloud system? Because we are hearing so many things like CDP will overtake this, or you may need to learn something else. Of course, we do understand the platform, but how can we predict the future? Is like
I might
that's
have a
a
go at that
question to
first.
Matt and
Yeah, I might have a go at that first.
Mhm.
When the internet started back in the 90s, I can remember that really clearly. And we were doing email marketing back then. And we're still doing email marketing 25 years later. What's happening with the chat GPT, and we've seen the coming of age of generative AI and prompts and what we can do with that. In 25 years time, we're going to look back at this moment and say, wow, that was another one of those game changing moments. We're in one at the moment. I'm absolutely sure of that. But we'll still be doing email marketing 50 years after we started doing email marketing. Email is the thing that, we might not be doing so much SMS, we might not be doing so much WhatsApp or whatever, but email marketing is that method that everyone's connected with. So email marketing won't stop, whether it be Marketing Cloud, whether the platform, the clients will be the same, who knows? It doesn't really matter. But we're going to be connected with digital marketing, and email is going to be a cornerstone of that. But that's how I feel about it. I think it's a good place to be. I love this. I love helping to make people. I love digital marketing because it helps to make a difference for the people I'm working with, and I feed off that. So when we're rolling out a project and we see a difference being made, actually, I love being part of that process. It's like makes me happy. So that's why I do it, and I've had that joy continuously. So, Kaelan, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a few mediums of communication that just it's hard to get people off of. Like we're never like just for example, we're never going to stop speaking to each other with our mouths, right? Like that's always going to be a way we communicate with each other. I think that it's going to be if you think about how we communicate with each other when we're not around each other, it's Zoom, which is very new. It's email marketing, which is like Matt said, it's what quarter of a century old. You have SMS, which is not that old now. I mean, it's not that old, but it's been around for a little bit. You have voices coming along. I think voice is going to be huge in the future. So like things like Amazon Alexa, and like speaking to your phone or speaking to an assistant, speaking to into Chat GPT. I think AI is going to take a huge role, but it's just going to shift the way email works. It's still going to be email. It's still going to be blogs. It's still going to be video content and things like that. I think email is sort of that center pillar that everything's going to revolve around. Because if you think about it like this, when we're thinking about it in terms of businesses are never going to just give their data to somebody else, right? They want to have a place to store their data. So if you think about an email list is your customer data, right? Like that is your list of your customers, and you can message that list anytime you want to message them. So that will never go away. Like I think SMS will get a little bit more popular. I don't think it'll overtake email, only because I think people are very finicky. They're very it's very like SMS is very precious. If I send too many messages, I'm going to stop. I'm going to unsubscribe immediately from a text message campaign. Email, people are more susceptible to keep receiving emails. And so companies are going to keep using that. People are going to keep receiving from there. I do think voice is going to take over. I do think I don't think take over, but I think it's going to grow a lot. I think AI is going to help with the voice side of things by natural language processing in order to understand your speech and create those messages a lot faster. But when it comes to like the digital marketing landscape, email is always going to be the centerpiece. And then companies are always going to experiment with other things like voice messages, texting, mobile app messages. But I think email is always going to be around. And Matt said it best, that it might change. The tool might change. The tool might be different. But if you think about, let's go back to that 5-step framework, you're always going to have to set up a system and administer it. You're always going to have data inside of it and segment that data and import it and understand the architecture. You're always going to have content. You're always going to have to automate everything. And then you're always going to have to run reports. So as long as you understand this core structure of how most technology works, it doesn't matter which one you're working with. So, but I think email is always going to be around. And then we could be looking back 25 years from now. I could be completely wrong on it all. So I'm not a fortune teller. I can't say for sure, but that's what I do think though, for sure. Deborah, did you have anything, or Matt, did you want to add anything else?
I could ramble on about that for ages.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a good topic for a meetup. We should just talk about where we see tech in 25 years' time. Because I think ownership of our own data is going to be fundamental. But I just popped in the chat there. If you think about it, it goes back to email. Email is your universal subscriber key. It's what you use to get into LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all your accounts with all your different companies. It's the thing that's your key. So if you think about email like that, it's pretty important now. It'll always be important.
Yep.
Yeah. I also, think about when I started in marketing, I was working with newspapers. When I cut the news columns with a little knife and then I glued it with wax, and that was making a newspaper. And then later I went into digital newspapers and everything was laid out exactly the same. It was just all on computers. And so now, we're doing emails, and I think we're still going to have to, like Kaelan said, be doing some of that exact framework. It just might be a little easier, but you see the writers striking. They still want content being written by a human. So, you just really want to make sure it doesn't sound like a robot. You want to put things in your own words. And I think if people make it more personable and make it from them and not so much AI only, I think that's kind of where it's going to transcend, a combination. It's not all going to be taken over.
Yep, I agree. And you bring up a very good point, Deborah. Only thing we do is we just shift the way things are presented. Humans still work the same way. Like if you think about a newspaper above the fold, the concept above the fold is from newspapers, right? The stuff that you see above the fold before you have to open up the whole thing, that's what people's eyes are gravitated towards. Think about the same thing on a website, a landing page, right? That's the same concept. An email, you've got a subject line. People aren't even going to open an email if the subject line doesn't interest them, right? So the concept of human psychology, it doesn't change. It just takes different forms when new technology is created. And I saw a really good picture of, how a lot of people talk about like kids being addicted to their phones and always being on their phones all the time. They're like, oh, like people change so much. I saw a picture from the 1920s and it was a row full of people and they all had newspapers and they were all looking down at the newspapers and not talking to each other. And I was like, like the light bulb went off. Like human nature doesn't change. It just takes different forms and it just has different technology. So maybe to answer your question, Lakshmi, on where will we be in 25 years with this, maybe it's the exact same thing because we're not going to change the way the human brain works. It's just going to take a different form. It's going to be the exact same thing, but in a different form. So if you think about radio is just podcasts, right? If you think about news or TV, that's just YouTube now, right? If you think about, newspapers, that's just websites, that's just blogs pretty much. So mail is email, right? So it just takes on a different form. So Deborah, I think you're spot on with that. So it just depends.
We're at time. We've got to have to go. But we'd love to keep this conversation going too. And maybe we will. In a couple of months' time schedule. Where do we think it'll be in 25 years' time? Meet up. So awesome. Everyone joining.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate all the questions and the comments and I appreciate you having me on here. So hopefully we can do this too. And I can have you on to my channel at some point and we can have these type of conversations on the Minute Admin.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll get that set up.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Great.
All right.
Thanks, Deborah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.